The neon sign flickered weakly in the desert night, casting an eerie glow across the cracked asphalt of Route 66. Carl's beat-up Chevy rumbled to a stop outside the dilapidated diner, its rusted frame a stark contrast to the vast emptiness surrounding it. He hadn't seen another soul for miles, and his growling stomach demanded attention. Pushing open the squeaky door, Carl stepped into a time capsule. The interior looked frozen in the 1950s, complete with red vinyl booths and a jukebox collecting dust in the corner. A lone waitress stood behind the counter, her back to him as she wiped down a coffee mug with mechanical precision. "Evening, ma'am," Carl called out, sliding onto a chrome stool. "Any chance I could get a slice of pie?" The waitress turned, and Carl's breath caught in his throat. Her face was hauntingly familiar, like a photograph he'd seen in some old newspaper. Her name tag read Betty, and her smile was warm but didn't quite reach her eyes. "Of course, sugar," Betty replied, her voice carrying a hint of static, like an old radio broadcast. "We've got a fresh cherry pie just out of the oven." As she placed the slice before him, Carl's eyes widened in horror. The deep red filling oozed from the crust, dripping onto the plate with an unsettling viscosity. It looked less like fruit and more like... "Last meal," Betty said softly, her smile never wavering. Carl's hand trembled as he reached for his fork, a chill running down his spine. Something was terribly wrong here, but he couldn't put his finger on it. His gaze drifted past Betty to the wall behind her, and his blood ran cold. Wanted posters. Dozens of them, yellowed with age but unmistakable in their clarity. And there, front and center, was his own face staring back at him. The text below listed a string of brutal murders, dates stretching years into the future. I don't understand," Carl stammered, pushing away from the counter. "Those aren't me. I haven't done anything." Betty's eyes grew sad, her form flickering like a faulty television. "Not yet, sugar. But you will." The diner began to shift and warp around him, reality bending at the edges. Carl lunged for the door, but it wouldn't budge. Outside, red and blue lights pierced the darkness, accompanied by the wail of approaching sirens. "No, no, no," Carl muttered, frantically searching for another way out. "This isn't real. It can't be." The jukebox crackled to life, a melancholy tune filling the air. Betty's voice drifted over the music, now sounding distant and echoing. "Time's funny out here on Route 66, Carl. Past, present, future. They all blur together sometimes." Carl spun around, finding Betty now seated in one of the booths. Her form was translucent, fading in and out of view. "Who are you?" he demanded. "What is this place?" "I'm just a waitress, sugar," she replied with a sad smile. "Or I was before you came through here the first time." Realization dawned on Carl's face, a memory he didn't know he had bubbling to the surface. I've been here before." Betty nodded slowly. "Every time you stop here, every time you try to change what's coming. But some roads, once you start down them, there's no turning back." The sirens grew louder, and Carl could see the flashing lights illuminating the parking lot through the grimy windows. His heart raced as he struggled to make sense of it all. "Listen to me, Carl," Betty said urgently, her form growing fainter. "You've got a choice to make. The road ahead is dark, but it doesn't have to end the way those posters say. You can still change course." Carl's mind reeled, fragments of possible futures flashing before his eyes. The murders, the chase, the inevitable confrontation with the law. But there were other images too, glimpses of a different life, one where he made better choices. "How?" he whispered, his voice barely audible over the cacophony outside. "How do I change it?" Betty's form flickered one last time, her voice fading to a whisper. "By remembering this moment, sugar. By choosing a different path when you leave here tonight. The diner door burst open, flooding the interior with harsh light. Carl shielded his eyes, bracing for the worst. But when he lowered his arm, he found himself alone in the dusty, abandoned building. No Betty, no pie, no wanted posters. Just the fading echo of a jukebox and the weight of a decision hanging in the air. Stumbling out into the cool night, Carl's legs felt weak. His car sat where he'd left it, but it looked different somehow. Newer, less worn by time and miles. In the distance, he could see headlights approaching, a solitary vehicle on the empty highway. Carl's hand hesitated on the door handle of his Chevy. He could drive away now, continue down the dark path that led to those wanted posters. Or he could wait, flag down that approaching car, and ask for directions to somewhere, anywhere else. The choice was his, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, Carl felt the heavy chains of fate loosen ever so slightly. He took a deep breath, the taste of cherry pie lingering on his tongue, and made his decision. As he stepped away from his car, Carl could have sworn he heard Betty's voice on the wind, soft and encouraging. "That's it, sugar. Choose wisely." The headlights grew brighter, illuminating a fork in the road Carl hadn't noticed before. To the left, the cracked asphalt of Route 66 stretched into darkness. To the right, a less traveled path wound its way towards distant mountains, bathed in the first light of dawn. Carl raised his hand, thumb out in the universal sign of a hitchhiker. As the approaching vehicle slowed, he silently vowed to remember this night, this choice, this chance at redemption. Whatever lay ahead, he knew one thing for certain. He wouldn't be stopping at any more lonely diners on Route 66. The car pulled to a stop beside him, and a kindly face peered out from the driver's side window. "Where you headed, son?" Carl glanced back at the abandoned diner one last time, seeing a faint silhouette in the window that might have been Betty, might have been his own reflection, or might have been nothing at all. "Anywhere but here," he replied, opening the passenger door. "I'm looking for a fresh start." As the car pulled away, leaving the diner and all its ghosts behind, Carl felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, it felt full of possibility rather than dread. The neon sign flickered once more in the rearview mirror, then winked out entirely, taking with it the specter of a future that would now never come to pass. Carl settled back in his seat, watching the sunrise paint the sky in hues of hope, and allowed himself a small smile. Sometimes, it seems, even the most damning prophecies can be rewritten. All it takes is a slice of otherworldly pie, a phantom waitress, and the courage to choose a different path when the universe offers you a second chance.